Hi guys, good morning. Welcome back. It is now Tuesday. Let me see, October 14th, 2025. Starting this at 11:07 a.m. Pacific time, PDT. So welcome guys. Welcome back to another week. This week we're going to be taking a look at the dates of I have my planner right here of October 13th, which is a Monday, to October 19th, which is a Sunday. Of course, you guys know these readings are ultimately timeless and signless, so you don't have to be watching it at the time that I'm posting this during the week that this is being read. And you don't have to have any specific natal placements at all in order for the messages to be for you. If this message has manifested itself in front of you and you're watching it, then there is something of value for you, whether or not you're able to identify it at the conscious mind level. But if you are listening and you're like, hey, that doesn't resonate, then I would invite you to come back at a later time, a later date, and see whether you can now recognize the messages that are coming through, because that's how energy is. As it flows in, it moves from a state of unawareness because it's in the non-physical, and becomes more aware to you as it manifests. And of course, if you're paying attention, because sometimes things could be physically right in front of us and we can't see it, right? So we do what we got to do. Now, I do want to remind you that we just had a full moon in Aries and it was a super moon. And I have to tell you, it was a bit much, a bit much. And we had that on October 6th, which was Monday, last Monday. So if you have been still feeling like I'm still feeling the effects of that, if you're still feeling it as well, remember that full moons are all about releasing. They're very supportive energies for the ending of things, for the releasing of things. So around full moons, if you really want to get a jump on things, you would be wise to declutter. You would be wise to look through your home, discard of anything that you no longer need, looking for broken objects, looking for things that you know you don't need, and things maybe that bring you pain. Maybe they're little artifacts, old love letters, all that stuff that represent, right, painful times in your life. Ask yourself, why am I still holding on to that? Right? So remember, things come into our life, literally things, ailments as well, psychological disturbances as well. These are all, you know it, if you follow this channel already, you know these are all simply manifestations of what? Say it with me, a belief that you hold on some deep level of your subconscious. Now, just because you're experiencing something as physical or as an idea or as a thought or as a feeling or as a sentiment, these are all just manifestations that relate to some belief that you either have connected with consciously or you have not connected with consciously. And yes, as our friendly energy guides are chiming in, that does include the people in your life. They're just forms. People, places, things, situations, ideas, anything that you can think of, that you can talk about, that you can feel, all of that is just a manifestation. You can consider it a form, which is just a manifestation of a belief that you hold. The only reason that you're experiencing it in the form that you're experiencing it, again, that does include people, is because we are in a physical plane, right? And so that's why it is far more accurate than people realize when we say thoughts are things. But really, the more accurate idea here is that your belief precipitates down through frequency to become a thing, become a form, to become something that you can witness, experience, feel, blah, 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 while you are here in this earthly plane. And so therefore, as you also know, if you follow this channel, and thank you again for following this channel, if you also know that anything that you witness or experience here in this earthly plane is not the actual real thing. Just like the Tao that can be expressed is not the real Tao. The God, the whatever it is, anything that you're talking about, or expressing in some way, shape, or form, literally is not the real thing. It is a representation of something beyond here. And so when you are healing your body, anytime you use the word healing, if you're not talking about healing a belief or changing your perception, you're not actually healing anything. You are managing the symptoms of that thing. And so therefore, if you follow this channel, then chances are that your soul is like, yo, let me, in addition to doing my healing or whatever it is, my physical body stuff, my learnings, whatever, in addition to doing all that, let me actually put in some work on the root issue. Because if you're looking to actually heal anything, you're going to be looking to change your core beliefs. It's your perception that must change. And so once you heal at the level of belief, and sometimes it's so deep, you've been working on lifetimes on it for lifetimes, and kudos to you. But when you introduce the healing at that belief level, that's what precipitates and comes downward through your energy field and precipitates, and you can see the evidence of the health of your belief by looking at the things you think, the ideas that come to mind, the sentiments that pass through you, the feelings you feel, the gut reactions you have, all of these, the perception of the perception of the world that you see, right? These are all just evidence. You're living in a feedback loop that just reflects back to you the health and well-being of your consciousness. All right. So this channel is all about healing your perception. If you study A Course in Miracles, which many of you that I end up working with, so many of you come to me independently and say, oh my God, I feel called to start this book now. And a lot of you are like, well, I haven't, it's come to me, but like it's been gathering dust. Listen, I know. My guides brought that book to me, A Course in Miracles, to me back in 2013, and it gathered dust, just dust until 2023. Okay. And now, so don't play. When these things come into your energy field, it means it's already there. And just because you're not working with that book, by the way, doesn't mean you're not working on the lessons that are provided in that book. The book itself is just one way, one medium. There are many mediums because that's how God works. There's something for everybody. But that book, if the book comes to you, A Course in Miracles comes to you, it's just one way that you can work towards understanding the deep principles of that. There are many ways. However, some ways are more true or higher in frequency to reality than other ways. And that is because some forms, some things that we have, just like some people are closer in frequency to love, whereas others are lower in frequency to love. Everything is love, but expressions of love have different degrees to it. Right. So, anyway, this is what we talk about with healing. Healing is just a shifting of your perception, it is a correction of perceptions. That's all it is. So, when you talk about healing your mind and your consciousness, you are talking about with your soul, right? You're talking about clearing out false perceptions, clearing out earthly learnings, clearing out unloving ideas, clearing out feelings of guilt and ideas of guilt that transcend lifetimes, by the way, right? So that's all it is, removing your blockages to sight of what? To sight of what is actually here. You can't see what's here because you're still so much in a belief system that is contentious within. And so that is why when you look outside of your eyeballs, blink, your cute little eyeballs, you're seeing a world that is filled with contention. The reality from the highest perspective is there is no world, right? There is no spoon, there is no glass, there is no cards, there's no Janelle. There's only, because remember, when you're one, there's no point of comparison. So there are no words to express about something because what would you be reflecting upon, right? So it's just, but the minute you get into dualistic thinking, the minute you get into what's also been referred to as distortion, meaning from this oneness, we now have differentiation, specialization, distinction, distortion, specialness, all of that. These are just synonyms where we have the appearance of many frequencies in all of this. There's only one name of God, but that aspect of God is just all that is. That's creativity. There's one name for that, right? But we wouldn't be able to know what that name is because we would be viewing from a place of many dualities, the perspective, right? So we can't even fathom what that frequency is. but from you, particularly from your specific perspective, your specific point of perception in all that is, which is right now, expressing as a little uniqueness, cute little personality and perspective, which is different from your last incarnation and your other incarnation, right? Just to give you an idea of how far into differentiation, distortion, specialness, distinction, uniqueness, individuation, what's another word? Division, you believe yourself to be. But God's promise, or all that is promise, is that there was never any separation. There's no such thing as distinction. It's just you having a temporary belief of that. And maybe it's poetically been talked about as Adam falling asleep under the tree and never waking up, right? Whatever, the dream, whatever it is, it's just a stepping down in frequency. The only reason why you're stepping down in frequency and your frequency is lowering is because you're forgetting more and more and more and more and more and more of reality. You are going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into sleep. And sleep is literally the lack of vision. So you're chopping up your real consciousness. It's interesting. I just heard the word tree, right? When you think about the tree of life and all that. I mean, I don't really get into the occultist thing. That's not for me in this lifetime. I look into it a little bit for my own efforts, but my mission, what I've been given, because I'm always trying to do other than what I've been given, but my purpose is to break this information down into practical, so that we can see the bridge between what is, as I looked, it was 18 minutes, 18 seconds on my timer over there. What is, and then down here, what it appears to be. And the reason why that's so important is because we understand that even in a world that appears to be something, you're only lost when you forget what you are. But when you remember what is and what you are, then you bring that higher perspective into this perception of what you believe yourself to be, and you run on / operate on that higher definition. That is your self-concept. You're only down here ever choosing between your I am, which is what you really are, and your I am not, which is the appearance of what you are. You're only ever choosing between love, which only love is real, right? Or you're choosing between its perceived opposite, fear. But we understand from the highest perspective, even fear is not real because there is no other thing but love. Only love is real. But down here, we just can't see it. Why? Because we have too many beliefs stored within our subconscious that is outside of reality. But we believe that so much so that we can't even see what reality is. We see this principle at work in our everyday life. When we complain to a friend or a family member or a coworker or an associate about something else, and they're like, wow, are we looking at the same thing? And then they list everything you just said and give you an alternative perspective. Even you're like, oh, I guess I was totally like, you know what? I guess I didn't see it that way. I was in my feelings. Yes, you were in your feelings. Let me bring you here and let you know you're in your feelings right now. But your feelings are, again, just a symptom, a byproduct, an effect, a result of what? A belief system that you have, a belief that you hold about yourself deep, 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 deep in your subconscious. You will continue to have these feelings, these thoughts, these ideas, these gut reactions, these world events around you, these environmental events around you that are nightmarish, that are hellish, until you connect with that core belief that you, as this sovereign being, this soul that is larger than your consciousness now, until you make connection with that. Once you make connection with that, you can undo that belief by realizing, oh, hold on a second. I'm out here. They out here saying that, I'm out here thinking I'm this horrible perpetrator and persecutor and victim and then also witness. And I'm this horrible insert here, whatever. God's like not even seeing all this, because as far as the highest perspective is the reality, there's nothing wrong with you. When remember in like the Matrix, the first one, Matrix, when he goes into that, when he, escapes the matrix, and then they take him in, Morpheus takes him into this, into the false matrix or whatever, the computer program, and it's like just a white room with nothing there. And then they're pretty much like, oh, load fighting scene or whatever, and then whoop, everything shows up around them. It's kind of like that. From the highest perspective, they're not seeing, there's no multiplicity here. In fact, so much so that from the highest perspective, when, let's say, the creator looks downward, if you want to go with that separated state, and there's one, two, it sees one other self. All of creation is that one other self. But from down here in this perspective, inside and inside and inside and inside and inside that one, further fragmenting, just like a cute little cell develops and divides within itself or multiplies within itself or whatever, is your personality. You and your soul. And inside your soul is all those little personalities. And inside those personalities, we've got all these, so it's just further and further division. But when the creator looks at you, there's only one. And some texts and all of this will refer to this as the Son of God, right? If you have religious programming, please leave it at the door. I forgot to tell you this because it's going to sink into the definition you already have been given in your mind and throughout your many lifetimes. So I'm giving you the word Son of God here reflects to creation. Okay. It's also been referred to as the Christ consciousness, right? It's also been referred to as in the Course, they call it the one self, right? The one self. So anyway, but here we are, different aspects of the one self that we are having all these experiences. So anyway, I come to you from within ourselves. And we've talked about this many times. I believe I mentioned this to you guys in the last reading as well. Anytime I know when I'm going to chat with somebody else in my life or with clients or whatever, I already know that, yes, I'm going to call them their name. Yes, they're this beautiful, unique spark of the divine, this unique aspect of the divine, this unique frequency that comes with its own name, which represents the frequency, all of that. But I'm not out here being messy about it. I understand what I'm looking at. I'm looking at my one self. I recognize that I am looking at all of creation within there. I'm just talking to me because all of creation is one. But in this time and space, this location, I've come here for the sake of having this experience of what? Duality is what we call it. Multiplicity. Where the one, appears to be many. But I'm not going to be messy and believe that to be a reality. Otherwise, I'll just keep breaking my own heart. Otherwise, I'll just keep making decisions based on division. And when you look left, in fact, take a moment right now, even if you're alone in your room, like I am, bing, just also a reminder, you're never alone. You've got multiple guides just sitting, watching you at any given time. Your angels watching you and passing by beings. Like, we're not alone. Okay. We're just in a different frequency. So we can't see it, but they can see us, right? Because that's what happens when things are a higher frequency. They can see what's in their frequency and below. But anyway, yeah, look to your left. Ding. Go ahead and look to your right. Ding. And I guarantee you, whatever you just saw, if it's another person, whatever, if you're thinking about another person, right? I guarantee you that you must learn to individuate from that being as it's being expressed now. Because even though we are all one, we have all chosen, the one has chosen to have this temporary division mindedness, separation mindedness. And we each carry different gifts and talents. We each carry different traumas and all of these things based on the beliefs that each of us has been carrying for many, many lifetimes. This isn't just this lifetime thing, guys. We on it. We out here, right? But you, as your super sweet soul, having yet another experience here. Remember, the soul has many different personalities, being the different incarnations it's had, right? And this is why I told you guys, remember, don't judge. A lot of you guys are out there judging, leaving harsh comments for people, beating on people, whether literally and figuratively, always stop and reflect first, because you know who you're talking to, yourself. A lot of times, if you just looked at just the immediate last lifetime that you had, you will realize, oh, shoot, I was in the same, whatever, the same race, the same religion, the same gender, the same sexual orientation, the same occupation, the same height, I had the same lisp as whatever my enemy is. I was also I was from the same country as them. I did the same crimes as them, right? So always remember, anything that gets your goat is you just reflecting or reacting with things of your own holdings that you cannot even recognize. And so the longer that you spend in condemnation, condemning others, all you're doing is, say it with me, condemning yourself. And the longer that you're spending condemning yourself, self-hatred, lack of self-love, we do it all, we all do it. So we're here to learn love. Guess what you're doing? It's the same thing. You're condemning yourself. Because why? We are all one self. And this is also why when you look at spiritual law, remember the law of what was it? The law of cause and effect teaches us karmic responsibility. The law of cause and effect says whatever you do, whatever action you take, this energetic output in the form of action is going to come back to you. It may not in this lifetime. It may in next lifetime, or it may not. It may in 30 lifetimes, but it will come back to you because it has nothing to do with punishment and everything to do with, hey, this world you've created around yourself of experiences and perspective is of your own doing. So anytime a lot of times we give thanks to the divine for certain things in our life, and we don't realize, first of all, we always give thanks to God because anything that's good is good because of God, right? Anything that's not good has nothing to do with God because he didn't even put it on that. It's too high of a frequency. It doesn't exist at that level. But down here it does, right? Imagine, you know how we know we all get petty around certain things, and we all know petty people. Petty people see a world that regular people just don't see. That's why it's called petty. And then if they're doubling down, they're all about their petty. This is a movement, this modern, within the last few years. So it's like, I'm petty and I know it, right? And I love it. Okay, well, just letting you know that's you signing up for some actions later. So don't double down in behavior that is unloving. Don't do it. There's a reason why we say we try to rise above it. That's a frequency thing. Is it easy all the time? No, because sometimes you just want to, hit a backhand sometimes, or, close fist. Just kidding, just kidding. Am I kidding? I don't know. Right? Sometimes we all want to do it. But again, do you. That's all I'm saying. Because that's all it ever is anyway. Rise above it. And it's even more disorienting when you look, if you get the chance, God bless, to see what's on your spiritual docket. Because sometimes if you come like in readings that I've had, we God is good. We get provided whatever spiritual information is for you, the beloved client. And a lot of times people come and they're like, I'm off my path, or I'm this or that, and they just need a little direction. And they think that they're off, or they think that they whatever. And then we're just flipping through the docket, and you're like, actually, according to your plan, you're right on time, because this and that and that and that and that. We often don't realize that these things that we see as throwaway experiences, little one-offs or little tit for tats at the local car wash or just whatever, we see those as anomalies, but actually it's right here in your chart. Could be like, oh yeah, am I going to choose love or fear when I get into that altercation at what is it? What did I just say? The car wash. Yeah, this person did cut in front of my line with me. And the only reason, and I wasn't the only one I'm not the only one who they cut in line with. If I'm operating in my highest, whatever perspective at that time, based on how many lessons I've learned since then I will just let it roll off my back. I will notice that they've got 5 kids, 2 in the car. I'll notice that they look tired and beaten down. They probably need this more than me. I'll notice that other people in line aren't really phased about it. I'll notice that, and neither am I, and I'll just let it be. But if I'm at this lower frequency and blah, 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 and blah, 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 and I still have certain lessons to learn, I'm going to pop off. I'm about to say something. Or if I, just whatever, it just escalates. But sometimes it could be even the middle of the line. I may say something, but depending on how I relate, how I do it, could indicate more of a learned lesson than before, right? There are gradations to this. So please, please, please remember, this is Earth School. You're down here specifically to have learning experiences. But God, all that is creation, suffering is not a reality. Suffering is down here. Again, from a higher perspective, you come to talk about suffering, it's like, wah, 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 wah. It doesn't translate. That's a down here thing. And remember, the teachings of Buddha says, listen, you don't have to be out here suffering. You suffer because of your attachment. So the question is, what are you attached to that is so strong in your subconscious belief and often in your conscious belief that makes this moment and this event in your life, this occurrence, this whatever it is, you can insert here, cause you or lead you or incite you to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. This is what it means to be mindful, to understand, to self-reflect. Look at it. Why is this bothering me? Because I guarantee you, if you put 10 people, yeah, you can say maybe half of them wouldn't even bat an eye at it. 3 others may be like, oh, that's strange. And 2 others, oh, well, you're one of them. And then, well, 10 other people. 2 others may be like, oh, that's unforgivable. And maybe one of those 2 will be like, somebody's dying because of this, right? Or you may get, depending on your culture, for example, and how mainstream and normalized some bad behavior is. From a higher perspective, it's just pure trash behavior. Down here, it's totally logical. It makes sense. It feels right. Because why? Because you have a certain belief system. But that belief system itself may be so unloving that you cannot even see it, and neither can your entire society, neither can your entire family, right? This is why we need to reflect and think twice. If you're moving towards division, something's wrong. There's a kink in the chain somewhere. And if you're lauding it, if you're lauding the death of people, if you're laughing certain things off, if you're not paying attention to, if you're not alerted by the lack of empathy about certain things, you got to look under the hood. What's going on here? Why is my whole society, being okay with this? Why is my whole family okay with this? And a lot of times it's because we live in a bubble. And now with the online space, it's all algorithms. It's even more of a feedback loop. It's just reflecting what your world is anyway, just in a cyberspace. We do live in a fractal universe, and you can start thinking about the cyberspace as the next level of fractal, right? Because this reality we're living, as physical as it is, we see it as the real world because we are occupying the same dimension, the same plane. But from a higher perspective, this is not the real world any more than when we look at the online space and believe that to be the real world. But you see a lot of people struggle to separate what they see online from what they have in the real world. And we see that ability for discernment falling even into dangerous waters, so to speak, with newer generations that are actively being born into a world where the internet is already king. But it's not reality. It's not. And neither is this. But we just have to do our best. So the question you always have to ask yourself is, it shouldn't even be, it's always going to be like, who am I? And these days, people aren't even asking, who am I? They're just moving to a tune of what they're not, because that's their sociocultural learning. So maybe some people need to get back to asking, who am I? And they need to remember what they are. They're love. As I looked down, it was 1 minute and 11 seconds left on my timer. They're love. They are one. The question is, who can wake up? This is the wake up. This is the wake up call. If it's Inception, this would be the kick. The music is playing, right? Wake up. And waking up means stop the presses. Turn inward. Remember what you are. Who are you? I am love. I am God in an aspect form. I'm a spark of the divine. I am one with my Father, but my Father is greater than I. And that in that statement alone, my creator, whatever you want to call it, my source, in that statement alone, you are recognizing your juxtaposition to reality. You're recognizing, we are the same. We are in alignment, but in my current focus, I am in this temporary, individuated, tiny self aspect. I'm a drop in an ocean. Okay. So once you really get it under your belt and you start to live from that oneness mentality, once you really get it under your belt that what you are is everything, but what you are being is a personality self, then you can start to realize, oh, shoot, from this temporary state of being, boink, I only have two choices. Ding, ding, ding. I think I have many choices because that's just the way my conscious mind works. And that's because I see a world filled with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's other things around my desk you can't see. I have a name for everything I see. That's because I live in a world where there are forms, people, places, things, situations, ideas, etc. But all of those can be narrowed down to two. Those forms are either founded upon, like a piece of clothing hangs on a hanger. Those forms are only based upon, founded upon, derived from an energetic frequency that is love-based, or that is fear-based. It just represents two sides of an apparent, note the word, apparent spectrum. And it's actually, I'm depicting it as lateral, but actually it's a hierarchical one. Because the higher in frequency you go, the more expanded your consciousness gets. That's why we hear that when people die, they lose their personality self. They don't lose it, but they reclaim what their true self is. And then they realize, oh, that was just that last lifetime. And I planned to be a murderer in that one. Because I wanted to learn, and I wanted to teach, right? It's different. It's a different mentality. And they always have something to say, oh, I wish I had remembered a little bit more. So while I was down there, I'd maximized my time to whatever, learn more, to love more is what is commonly cited, right? And then they always come back, have a little depression. If those who come back after near-death experience, but obviously the rest, they go on, God bless. But if they decide to come back, and it's part of their soul plan to come back, so they can do what? Spread the word. But they go through a little bit of depression. Because why? Because, oh my God, I realize, and down here, right? And then it's like, I just want to go back home. I just want to go back home because what am I doing here? I'm wasting my time. This isn't even me. And then finally, at some point, if they recover themselves, they start to spread the word. And what is the message they keep saying? Love, 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 love everybody. Don't judge anybody or yourself. Work on your creativity. Find your joy. Stop turning on the news. Stop doing this. This is this message that they're coming through with, right? It's going to always, the higher the frequency that they're able to remember and bring back, the more it's going to be all encompassing. There are many who come and they're like, I went there and I went to hell and this and that. That's because their belief system was so strong that they took themselves to some space. Remember, you're a sovereign being. Even when you're having your dreams, and some of you lucid dreaming, you can move about the space. Right? So this is why when we work at our belief level of belief, we heal our perceptions. What we are doing is we are creating the conditions for shifts in perception to occur for us, not only here, but at the soul level. This is how you grow your soul. This is how you allow your soul to experience and expand itself. Not all souls are at a higher level of evolution, right? We have the realm of spirit, which is immaculate. It's perfection. That's where everything is just as God created it. We know it. That's the realm of spirit. It's outside of time and space, right? But as we go downward, we have souls, souls upon souls upon souls. And those souls themselves, further divide. And then we have different personalities, multiple lifetimes, this and that and that and that. So you have to understand there's a system here. But you don't have to know the system. And in fact, many people just have a little puzzle piece, myself included, of what the system is. Simply stated, we likely don't have the faculties to even begin to conceive of, let alone grasp what's actually going on. It's too much. But there's always a way down here, and it's to remember what you are. I am love. You must sit and relax and think about what is love. It's not going to be division. It's not going to be judgment. It's definitely not going to be a lot of the things that we see in the world right now. You have to stop and think for yourself, get into the heart space. In fact, humanity right now, if we're locating ourselves along this long trajectory of working at different chakra levels based on the collective consciousness, we are working on the heart chakra. That's why you see a lot of these things like these thoughts and movements about heart math and heart brain coherence. These are leading edge for us because this is what we're moving towards. We're moving up in frequency, but we need to get the heart online. This is why we also see the lack of heart and empathy and compassion and all of this throughout the world. Struggles, okay? It's struggles for real. But you don't have to struggle. And if you're watching this video, I guarantee you that you are at a level in your spiritual evolution that you are capable and even willing, I would say, to see how you can step into greater functioning, into greater consciousness, higher level consciousness for yourself. And what you do for yourself naturally emanates to others. And so this is why we always have to be mindful of how we treat ourselves, because guess what other people are? We are one self. The spirit level, we understand this, we know it, there's no question. But the souls are different vibration, are at different vibrational levels and spaces and different expressions, right? So always get in touch with your soul and try to understand, well, based on my soul's frequencies, and then based on my skills and talents and personal obstacles and this and that in this lifetime, what's the best trajectory for me? It may be different from your best friend who may not be from the same soul group or family or whatever, but maybe you guys are besties in this lifetime, whatever. So they have a different starting point. They've got to kind of work through things for themselves. We're not at a time anymore where we can just look out into the world and follow. This is not, you know what? That's so crazy, guys. Oh my gosh. I put these two cards. I'm going to shift this camera for a second so you can see. Before I actually cleared my desk, yay. But before I got in here, these two cards wanted to come out. And I was like, okay, well, Saint Germain in particular. And I was like, oh, okay, well, okay, sure. It was in my drawer. And then I was like, okay, well, Jesus, why not? Right? Here we are. Now, this makes sense because Saint Germain is said to be, I mean, I know many people are like, is he real? Is he not? And depending on your discourse, if you're an ascended master discourse person or just whatever, it almost doesn't matter. But what I will tell you is this card wanted me to dust it off and bring it out. And it just occurred to me right now. Why? Because Saint Germain is said to be the ascended master for the age of Aquarius. And of course, we know our beloved Jesus Christ, which is just one personality aspect of the larger soul that Jesus belonged to, right? And of course, as we go way up and we get that one self, we're all one, right? So these are brothers. But of course, they're upperclassmen. Let's put it that way. We down here, we need our upperclassmen helping us. But they would be the first to say we are not to be worshipped. Worshipping is not for beings that are our brothers and sisters. That's a lateral situation. Worship and reverence and awe is saved for the creator. And a lot of people mistake that down here. We're brothers, the bestest. Now, I do want to point out again that we understand that Jesus Christ, the religious figure, and also the teacher, came through with the age of Pisces. And guess who for the age of Aquarius? That makes total sense. The age of Aquarius is about independence, self-dependence, innovation. Where can you go for innovation? You don't look around the world around you. No, you can, but the impetus for newness and innovation comes from where? Inside of you. because there's no outside of you, it's inside of you. So if you're looking for newness, what we doing outside? It has to be inside. Also, greater social responsibility. As I said this, I just helped. He said, notice what he just said. I just helped, right? I was going to say, as I said this, I felt, but he said, I helped. Thank you. That makes sense because I felt my heart space open and it's just like, when you can breathe and it's just like open expansion. This is that feeling. Wow, thank you. Oh my God, it's so funny. I just like I couldn't tell the difference for a second who just said this because purposefully, but it was like I help all the time, shrug. I help all the time. I happen all the time. We're helping all the time, but nobody knows, right? God bless. Yeah, and isn't that the way of innovation? Okay, you guys can kick it. We can kick it. Question is like, can I sit with you guys with my little tray? I'm just kidding. At the lunch table, but anyway, seriously, this is the time we need leadership, is what they're saying. Now, if you follow this channel, we talk a lot about leadership. Now, the discourse that I've spoken from often is the New Earth discourse, but again, I remind you that all of this is just discourse at the end of the day. And discourse is helpful because there are many of them and it speaks to your specific learning and what you need. If you're scientific minded, certain discourses are not going to appeal to you. If you're religious minded, certain discourses aren't going to appeal to you. If you're rebellious minded, he's like, the age of Aquarius, certain discourses aren't gonna, I can't even finish this statement because I'm feeling this energy here of this rebellion, this innovation, it's like waiting, and it's reflecting us. Waiting for what? Waiting for the insight to come through. And it's a really great reminder. And this energy of Jesus Christ is joining in this. The reminder here is the earth, this plane of existence, if you want to say it, because many people will call it by many names, is stocked. S-T-O-C-K-E-D is built, is constructed, is what's the word? Composed, right? Yeah, constructed is built. All these words, there's a word that's escaping me, but is conditioned, whatever. There's a word I can't get out, but by what? By what we put into it. That's what collective is. That's what collective consciousness is. And that's what collective, hear it, karma is. We are bound to repeat what it is that we do to the earth, what it is that we do to other people. Yeah. Hold on, let me see what I was just hearing. I just heard there are other people, and they waved it off a bit. They're just not you right now. So interestingly, I'm gonna have to reflect upon that because yeah. So anyway, guys, right? So this is the calling. The calling is to build. Now, if you have been following the idea of new earth energies and really this is what he's saying to distinguish there, it's less about the title and really about ushering in new frequencies. It's like coming off from Oscar, ushering it in. You can play a role in that and you must. And how you do that is you determine your own frequency. Whatever your frequency is going to be a large determining factor as to what you can allow in, right? We talk about it poetically, like, oh, dear God, let me be an instrument of your peace. And then we rail against the person at the car wash, for example, right? How can we be an instrument slash channel slash direct route slash conduit for love and peace if we cannot even master the frequency ourselves? This goes back to spiritual law. What does spiritual law tell us? Spiritual law says that we will, like, let's say, populate the world based on what we believe to be true about ourselves. It's a self-concept. We talked about this recently as well, guys, over the past few months. Self-concept is king. Your identity is king. Your perception of your identity is king. If you believe as a sovereign being, sovereignty is an age of Aquarius situation. If you believe yourself to be a victim at your subconscious level, which most of the world does, right? guess what you're going to be vibrating as? Guess what you're a channel for now? Victim consciousness. Until when you do the D word, decide not to be a victim anymore. Not a victim. They're saying not a victim of your circumstances, not a victim of anything anybody else ever does or has ever done, blah, blah, blah to you. Because remember, from their higher perspective, none of this is true. There's no such thing as a victim. It's a concept that was not created at the level of the creator. The creator did not create victim consciousness. There's no such thing as victim. There's no such thing as perpetrator. That's us. And because there's none of that, there's also no need to forgive, because there's no such thing as condemnation. There's no such thing as imperfection. There are all these things. But here in this space, there is. But you can master that by remembering what you are and by bringing that sense of perfection, perfectly imperfect. Imperfect refers to the fact that you have stepped down in frequency to take on an individuated self. It's by definition imperfect, and by design imperfect, because you are no longer in your perfect. Oh, thank you. Didn't notice they corrected me. No longer in the perspective of your perfected self, because the reality is that you are your perfected self. Nothing has ever changed. There's no me, there's no you, there's no whatever. That's the reality. But in the perspective of duality, we are having an experience. And this experience is by design. It is a divine inspiration, divine experiment, whatever you want to call it. In other words, in order to experience individuality, individuation, you had to forget a little bit. You had to step down in frequency. You had to become distorted a little bit. You had to take on an ego. You had to take on a personality. But you do not have to identify with that, because that is not what you are. And now here we are in this physical space. And so it's gotten to the point where we see ourselves as a body. As long as you identify with a body and you see yourself as a body and you see yourself as a physical being and you see yourself as beholden to physical laws and you see yourself as a part of this world and nothing else, you will continue by design, because it's your sovereign being and you're choosing down here with your free will, you will continue to experience a reality that aligns with what you believe. Because guess what? You have to get what you believe, because that is the way, that's because what you are. What you are is very, very powerful. And if you say, I believe myself to be this, the universe must bring that to you. It must. Otherwise, it would be in violation of spiritual law. Remember, spiritual law says, as I believe, that is what the universe will bring back to me, right? As Paulo Coelho said it so well, the universe conspires to bring you what it is you desire. The problem is, people down here, we think desire means, oh my God, I want that. Oh my God, I want that. I love this. No, that kind of desire is about attraction. It's saying that what your dominant attraction is what will be brought to you. Now, unfortunately, because we've lived so many harsh lifetimes and seen so much darkness and whatnot, and so much programming, which we're trying to clear right now with the healing of the perceptions, but because of that, we have come to associate pleasure with pain. And we blame God for it. God's like, I don't have nothing to do with this. Okay, again, this is not something that was created by God. Where but down here can we decide watching crime dramas is interesting, is whatever? When you're at a higher frequency, it doesn't even exist there. Why? Because you don't want to watch it. Why? It is a waste of your time, because it is so in the realm of fantasy. Fantasy being the definition of what you are not. You're so clear about what you are: love, light, expansion, joy, creativity, expression. that these lower frequencies and TV shows and all these things, these books that we just eat up down here, myself included, my bad, my bad, my bad. We don't even, it's no longer in the society at these higher levels. You know why? Because there's no appeal for it. There's no appeal. We don't want it. We don't need it. It doesn't mean we can't have it because God doesn't bar anybody from anything. We get what we want. We always have to ask, why is this coming to me? And that, my friends, is the realm of checking under your hood. A lot of the answers come from past lifetimes. But always remember that we are the ones who stock, STOCK, our lifetimes based on what it is that we do in our now moments. When all the stuff you're like, thank you, God, thank you, these are blessings and stuff. Yeah, it's coming from your spiritual bank account, your spiritual cash, CACHE, right? Yes, and there are other, this doesn't always mean that all the negative things that we experience come from us, by the way. A lot of it does, but sometimes we take that on, again, a choice by us, in order to be teachers to others. Of course, those are very highly advanced souls. You know, he's like, very advanced souls to come down and experience things. Sometimes the most advanced soul is your very neighbor, and you can't even recognize them. Maybe they're quiet, they keep to themselves, but they're doing their work. They don't even know who they are sometimes, but they're doing their work, right? A lot of times, the most advanced souls are in very dark places because spirit, God, source, whatever you want to call it, has his emissaries all over. Who do you think that really awesome blessing of an IRS lady is that you just happened to connect with when you called into the IRS office, that really helped you through a hard time and all this and that? She's one of them. She's one of them. Maybe she doesn't know it. But how do you know? First of all, we talk about the chosen ones. Always remember, there's no such thing as a chosen one. I know a lot of people are going to struggle with that because of one thing, their belief system. But if their belief system is endorsing ideas of chosenness, that is a direct reflection of their inner division. That is not of God. God is oneness. So when you're of oneness mentality, you do not recognize division. And division meaning you don't recognize one as being better or one as being worse. Now, that being said, we do recognize differences in expression. We all have the potential to be love, right? But whatever the level of evolution your soul is at the moment, it will express down here in alignment with that. Now, that doesn't mean that just because that person did all those heinous things from your perspective and very much often objectively, right? It doesn't mean God is condemning them. God doesn't condemn. You don't know what that person's soul contract was. And I've read for many people, myself included, where they would be condemning their own selves if they even looked in their own past. So stop with the condemnation. If you can't even read an Akashic record, don't even try. Don't try to judge. You observe, you ask spirit to bless them and to heal their perceptions. And you ask spirit if there are people they're teaching, if only teaching people what not to do, you thank God for the teachers that God has placed in your life. And then you make a personal decision about whether you would ever prefer to do something like whatever you think you're witnessing. You think you're witnessing because you're just dreaming. When we look from a higher perspective, you ain't doing nothing right now. You're fine. You're at home. You're just whatever. But here you are having this dream that you're witnessing something. Make a choice for love and fear. If you jump on the condemnation, you've made your choice to fear and to further fear on this planet. If you observe, you involve spirit, You pray, you say thank you, you ask if there's something that I could be of service with here. Sometimes the answer is no, because you're not the appropriate person to deal with that. There are other things that you may be tasked with dealing with, and you ask Spirit to guide you. That's what the Christ consciousness does, the Holy Spirit. This has nothing to do with religion. Okay. We call in A Course in Miracles, they have a term for it, the Christ control. It just means from the level of being able to see all. It's like the eye in the sky. When you ask to be of service, and some people say an instrument of God's peace, this is the allowing, this is the surrendering. It's, oh God, I just came into some money, please help me to help others. All you're doing is surrendering to what A Course in Miracles calls the Christ control. And that is saying that I allow myself to be moved. We talk about that all the time. To be moved by what? Love. So that I can make sure my resources are put to great use. And always remember, anything that you do or that is done through you, that's what it is, done through you to be of assistance to others, has already been of assistance to you, because you cannot give what you have not yet received. And if you're receiving something and you have not given from it, then you cannot be said to have accepted it. There's a blockage there, because we talked about this before. What does a glass do? You're a glass. Light flows through the glass. If light is coming into the glass, but it's not flowing through, there's something wrong with the glass. And when I say wrong, I mean we have to work on the internals. In our case, we have to do the shadow work. We have to ask God to help direct our awareness, right? There's a lot. So long story short, in this, wow, this is a lot coming through. Wow. Long story short, look at the 3. 1, 2. What else is coming? I guess that's you. As I look down, it was 3 minutes, 30 seconds left, right? So anyway, this week, I would invite you to elevate yourself. Ask Spirit to show you. Let this week be a week where you can be shown a better way. And a better way is going to be a way that's more loving. Whatever form that frequency takes, whether it comes through with the name Jesus Christ, whether it comes through with the name Saint Germain, whether it comes through with the name Loving Elementals, whether it comes through with the name of your mother, whether it comes through on the side of a bus, whatever that frequency of energy comes through with in whatever form. I'm looking for a book here. Is this it? Did I find it? Did I find it? I found it. Ah! Whatever the form, then you work with Spirit to help you receive it. Now, if you're noticing it, you've received it, but have you accepted it yet? To accept an energy, remember, like the glass, you must demonstrate your acceptance. This is the doing part in the physical world. And demonstrating acceptance is simply allowing it to move through you. That's why we understand from a higher perspective, giving and receiving are the same things. You cannot receive, well, you cannot give what you have not yet received and accepted for yourself. Straight up. Healers cannot heal others unless they heal themselves. Might I suggest Moon Omens is just that whole company, I think, is just run by old souls, because they're just on it. But this book right here, all right, I'm just saying, look at the colors. I'm just saying, right? God bless. All right, guys, I'm gonna end here. Yay, my timer's helping me. This should be under like an hour, so hopefully I can post it on Instagram. God bless you. If you'd like to work more closely with me, personal readings and all of that sort, you know exactly where to reach me. Mwah. Have a blessed day, guys. Don't judge.